Hello everyone, Lily here. Today we are going to talk about exam strategies for writing Task 1. You probably already know Task 1 is less important than Task 2, but you might be surprised at just how much less important it is. A few viewers commented that they didn't finish Task 1 but still got a 7 in writing. At first, I didn't pay much attention to these comments. I thought, okay, their Task 2 essays must be really good. However, a member of our VIP membership got a 6.5 in writing, even though he only wrote around 90 words in Task 1. He wrote the intro, the overview, and for the first details paragraph, he only wrote 2 sentences. Can you believe it? He wrote only 2 sentences in the first details paragraph, and he didn't write the second details paragraph at all. And he got a 6.5 in writing. I'm telling you all this not to encourage you to ignore Task 1. I'm showing you this because I want you to understand that it's completely unnecessary to do all those fancy things in Task 1, like making a lot of comparisons, trying very hard to paraphrase, or using super complicated vocabulary. Your goal should be to produce error-free sentences and report data accurately. And you also want to finish your Task 1 as soon as possible so that you can leave time to check your Task 2 essay. This is the graph I got in my exam last month. I missed a couple of important features, repeated a few expressions, and made a few silly mistakes, but I still got a 7.5. I exaggerated in the thumbnail. I didn't mess up Task 1. I think my Task 1 report was actually well written, although I did make a few mistakes. I exaggerated because I wanted you to know that Task 1 is not that important. Your strategy for Task 1 should be to play it safe instead of doing fancy things. Let's start with the introductory paragraph. In the exam, I was able to quickly paraphrase the chart description because I know this type of chart just shows age distribution. So when a chart groups a population into different age groups, then we can say the chart shows age distribution. So this chart groups Japan's population into 3 different age groups. So we can say this chart shows age distribution in Japan. The line graph gives information about the age distribution of Japan's population from 1960 to 2024 with a projection to 2040. So what preposition should be used with age distribution? It depends on the object. If the object is a population, then the preposition of should be used. Age distribution of Japan's population. However, if the object is a country, then the preposition in should be used. Age distribution in Japan, okay? Now, let me show you another example of how to use age distribution to paraphrase the chart description. So this chart gives information on the ages of the populations of France and Germany in 2000 and the projections for 2050. These charts also group populations into different age groups, right? So we can also use age distribution to paraphrase the original. The charts show age distributions in France and Germany, along with predictions for 2050. Here, the preposition in is used because the object is 2 countries, right? Before we move on to the overview paragraph, I just want to quickly mention that we are hosting a 3-day writing Task 2 challenge. The link is in the description, okay? It's in the description, not the comment section. Now, the overview paragraph. This paragraph should be about the bigger picture. Can you spot the bigger picture? What does this graph want to show us? Yes, these 2 categories decrease while this category increases. So what? What do the increases and decreases want to tell us? The graph wants to tell us Japan has been aging rapidly, right? This is the main purpose of this graph. The percentage of people in the oldest age group is increasing while the percentage in the youngest age group decreases. This is aging, right? This is the bigger picture of the chart. And then we can add the trends. And when you add the trends, make sure that you don't list or you don't state all these three age groups. For example, don't say the percentage of people in the oldest age group increases, the percentage in the 25 to 64 age group decreases, and the percentage in the 0 to 14 age group also decreases. Like if you state all these three age groups, your paragraph will be very wordy, right? So this is the oldest age group, but how can we deal with these two age groups? We can simply call them the two younger age groups, right? Don't say 25 to 64 and under 14. Simply say the two younger age groups, okay? With the percentage of the population in the oldest age bracket increasing significantly and the percentages in the two younger age groups both decreasing. Look how smart it is. We just use the two younger age groups to refer to these two age groups so that we can write concisely. You compare these two versions. Which one is better? So this one only lists trends. Overall, the percentage of the population in the oldest age bracket has increased significantly, while the percentages in the two younger age groups have both decreased. So this version lists trends without showing the bigger picture, right? This description is so important. Japan has been aging rapidly. This is exactly what the chart wants to show us. I think a reason why I was able to get a 7.5 despite all the mistakes I made is that I wrote a strong overview. I showed the bigger picture. Japan has been aging rapidly. Now let's add projections. This trend is likely to continue in the future. So when describing projections, apart from expressions like is expected to, or is projected to, or is forecasted to, we can also use is likely to. The trend is likely to continue into the future. I will summarize all these expressions for you guys at the end of the video. Please note that this category is always the biggest category. However, I didn't include this feature in the overview paragraph because this graph shows projections. If you describe trends, projections, and also mention that this category is always the biggest category, your paragraph will be very complicated. You will spend much more time organizing information and writing it, right? I don't recommend including the biggest category in the overview if the chart shows projections. Remember, we want to finish our Task 1 report as soon as possible so that we can have time to check our Task 2 essay. The overview paragraph is done. Now let's move on to details paragraphs. So which age group should we describe first? Remember, the overview paragraph says this country is aging. So which category can show that this country is aging? These two age groups, right? The oldest age group is increasing and the youngest age group is decreasing. This can show that Japan is aging. So it makes sense to describe these two categories first. I will describe the oldest age group in the first details paragraph. I don't think there is anything special for this age group. We don't need to be too detailed, right? We don't need to mention the stable trend here. We can just describe the upward trend and add data at the beginning of the period and now. Only roughly 5% of the Japanese population was over 65 in 1960. However, this percentage has risen substantially, reaching 30% by 2024. This percentage or this proportion is a very useful expression we can use to avoid repeating the percentage of the population aged over 65. But please note that this percentage doesn't refer to the fixed number 5% because a fixed number cannot increase or decrease. This percentage actually refers to the variable percentage of the population over 65. The percentage of the population over 65 is a variable that can change over time. Anyway, you just need to remember you can use this percentage or this proportion to avoid repetition. I also want to mention a silly mistake I made in the exam. So in the exam, I thought right now it was 2022. So I used 2022 with the present perfect tense. I used 2022 throughout the entire essay. I don't know if this is a serious error or not, but I think overall my report is very accurate. Now let's add projections. There's nothing special in the future. I don't think we need to describe the stable trend here. So I'm just going to describe the upward trend and add the data at the end of the period. Growth is set to continue, and by 2040, around 37% of the population is expected to be older than 65. So here I used is set to and is expected to describe projections. Again, I will summarize all these expressions for you guys at the end of the video. Again, this is a very simple description. I simply describe the upward trend and added the data at the beginning of the period, now, and the end of the period. But of course, we shouldn't describe all three age groups as simple as this. In the exam, when I was analyzing the youngest age group, I knew I should report this number. And I knew how to do it because I actually made a video about it. I knew for trends like this, we can simply say the percentage decreases except or with a small increase in 1970. I knew it. However, I forgot about it when I was writing. It's probably because this part is too long. After I finished this part, I already forgot that I needed to add the increase. In comparison, the proportion of the population under 14 has experienced a significant decrease from around 30% in 1960 to 15% in 2024. Again, in the exam, I used 2022 with the present perfect tense. That was stupid. So this is all I wrote in the exam. I forgot to add with a small climb in 1970. You probably have noticed that I repeated the word population again and again. You may wonder if you can just say the proportion of those under 14 decreased or the proportion of the youngest age group decreased. These two versions are not precise. In this version, it's very clear what each number represents. So 30% means 30% of the population is under 14, right? And 15% means 15% of the population is under 14. However, is it clear what 15% represent? 15% of what is under 14? We don't know. This version has the same problem. We don't know 15% of what is in the youngest age group. So don't worry about repeating the word population. It's necessary, okay? The repetition makes your report accurate and precise. Now let's add projections. There is absolutely nothing special in the future, right? The percentage will just keep decreasing. So this percentage will likely drop further to only 10% by 2040. I know I used this percentage again. It really doesn't matter. It's okay to use an expression a couple of times. As I said earlier in the video, when it comes to task 1, you want to finish it as soon as possible so that you can have time to check your task 2 essay. You don't want to waste your time paraphrasing. Let's just use this percentage to finish this paragraph fast. Alright, this paragraph is done as well. Finally, this category. So for the trends during this period, of course, we are not going to say the percentage first increases and then decreases and then increases again, right? We can simply say the percentage fluctuates slightly or the percentage hovers, right? The proportion of the population aged 25 to 64 hovered around 67% between 1960 and 1990. And then we can add the downward trend, but has since fallen consistently to roughly 60% this year. Now, for projections, I don't think it's necessary to go into detail, like the percentage will decrease and then remain almost unchanged. What's important is the number at the end of the period, so we can simply add this number and ignore the details. By 2040, this age bracket is expected to contain only approximately 57% of the population. As you can see, I repeat the word population again. It's necessary, okay? We need the word population to make it clear what these percentages refer to. Also, I didn't include that this category is always the biggest category. Why? Because I didn't practice writing essays for like half a year because I was recording a course. So before the exam, I only practiced writing 2 task 2 essays. That's all. I just wasn't conditioned to mention that this category is always the biggest category. But now, I think it's probably a good thing that I didn't mention that this category is the biggest category, because if I had included this information, I probably would have spent much more time arranging all this information. Then I wouldn't have had enough time to check my task 2 essays, right? In the exam, I managed to leave like 4 minutes to check the entire task 2 essay. I think a reason is that my task 1 report is pretty simple, right? If you overcomplicate things, you probably won't have time to check task 2. This is the entire essay. Look at how simple yet how precise the description is. The red expressions are expressions you can use to describe projections. Now let's recap. So these are my task 1 strategies. I would always finish my task 2 essay first in the exam. And when it comes to task 1, I want to finish it as soon as possible so that I can leave some time to check my task 2 essay. And how can we finish our task 1 report as soon as possible? We can achieve this by not doing anything fancy. It's much more important to produce error-free sentences and report data accurately. Alright, that's it for this video. Don't forget to check out our 3-day Writing Task 2 challenge. The link is in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you soon.